Today we're talking about something that I get asked about all the time, especially by folks thinking about downsizing or relocating in retirement. Can I take my low property tax bill with me when I move? The answer is yes, but sometimes. As a small benefit that mostly has flown under the radar with Proposition 19, which notoriously often results in property taxes being raised when people inherit their family home, California now lets certain homeowners transfer their property tax base, also known as the base year value, to a new home. That means your new home can carry over your old, lower property tax bill instead of getting reassessed at today's market value. But, as you've probably guessed, there are rules, timelines, and some fine print. So, let's break it down. Who qualifies, how it works, and how to make sure you don't accidentally trigger a big property tax hike when you move. Really quick, thank you very much for watching. Please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on estate planning, finances, real estate, and taxes. In California, your property taxes are based on your assessed value, which is usually the price you paid for your home, adjusted each year by a small inflation factor under Proposition 13. This is usually a max increase of 2% per year. So if you bought your home back in 1985 for $150,000, your property taxes today are probably based on something pretty close to that number, not the home's current market value. Real estate grows an average of 4 to 6% per year here in California, which means the longer that you've owned a home, the more out of step the assessed value for property taxes will be compared to your home's market value. However, when you sell and buy a new home, your new place usually gets assessed at current market value, usually your purchase price. And that can lead to a much higher tax bill, unless you qualify to transfer your original tax base. That's where Proposition 19 comes into play. Proposition 19 allows 3 types of homeowners to transfer their property tax base: people who are age 55 or older, those who are severely and permanently disabled, and victims of wildfires and other natural disasters. Let's focus on the first group, folks age 55 and up. If that's you, you can transfer your tax base up to 3 times in your lifetime. You can move anywhere in California. And if your new home is worth the same or less than your old one, then you can carry your current taxable value straight across, no increase. Now, if your new home costs more than the old one, you can still transfer the base, but you'll pay property taxes on the difference between the two values. We'll get into that more in just a second. Let's talk about how it works if you buy a less expensive home. Let's say you're 68 years old and you bought your current home for $200,000 in the 1980s. After inflation adjustments, your current taxable value is about $300,000, even though the home is worth $800,000 on today's market. If you sell that house and buy a smaller home for, say, $600,000, Prop 19 lets you carry over that $300,000 taxable value to the new property. So, even though the new home costs $600,000, you're still only paying property taxes based on $300,000, which is a massive savings. And it's why a lot of people are finally feeling free to move without getting punished on property taxes. But what if you buy a home that's more expensive? Now, let's say your new home costs more than the old one. Maybe it's a 1-story home that's easier to age in place, yet it costs $900,000. In that case, Prop 19 still helps. You take your original $300,000 base and add the difference between the two properties. If your old home was worth $800,000 and the new one is worth $900,000, that's a $100,000 difference, which gets added to your base. Thus, your new assessed value becomes $400,000, which is still a whole lot better than $900,000. Now, timing matters here too. If you buy your new home in the first year after selling the old one, you get up to 105% of the old value before any adjustment kicks in. If you buy in the second year, the cap increases to 110%. Going over that, and the excess gets added to your new base. There are also some important timing and other rules to follow. This transfer can apply to any property purchased in the state of California. Of course, other states are going to have their own schemes to determine property taxes, so this doesn't apply to them. Previously, this benefit was available only when the property was purchased in the same county. Prop 19 expanded this benefit to be statewide. Also, you have to buy or build your new home within 2 years of selling your old one. You must own and live in the old property at the time of sale, and the new home also must be your primary residence. Most importantly, you have to file the paperwork within 3 years of the new home's purchase. If you miss that window, you can still get the benefit, but it will only apply going forward. No retroactive refunds, so chop chop, don't wait. Going further though, if you're a wildfire or disaster victim and your home was substantially damaged or destroyed in a governor-declared disaster, you can also transfer your tax base under Prop 19 even if you're under age 55. The same rules apply when it comes to residence and timing, but again, no age requirement if you're applying under the disaster provision. I'm sure your question now is how to file. To make the transfer official, you must file the correct form with the county assessor in the county where your new home is located. If you're transferring because of age, it's Form BOE 19B. If it's based on disability, it's BOE 19D and BOE 19DC. And if you're a disaster victim, it's Form BOE 19V. These are standardized forms across California, but each county may have its own submission process, so check with your local assessor's office once you're ready. Here's an example straight from California's Board of Equalization, who comes up with all the rules for these situations. A homeowner sells a home with a taxable value of $300,000 and a market value of $900,000. They buy a new home worth $700,000. Because the new home is worth less, they transfer the full $300,000 taxable value. No adjustment needed. In a second example, they sell a $600,000 home with the same $300,000 taxable value and buy a $700,000 home. The $100,000 difference gets added to their base, so the new assessed value becomes $400,000. In both cases, they save significantly on taxes, but how much depends on the price difference. So, can you take your property tax bill with you when you move? Well, if you qualify under Prop 19, the answer is yes, but you have to follow the rules. You have to time the sale and purchase right, you have to file the forms, and you have to make sure your new home fits the criteria. Yes, Prop 19 is infamous for eliminating most people's abilities to avoid a reassessment, typically an increase, of their property taxes when they inherit property. But, silver lining, there are a few benefits that encourages those to downsize their home, typically later in life, without the fear of their property taxes skyrocketing because housing prices in California can be insane, to say the least. If you're thinking about moving, downsizing, or transferring property to family and want to avoid a surprise reassessment, this is something worth looking into. It can save you thousands and, in some cases, tens of thousands of dollars each year. Let me know if you have any questions or if there's a topic you want me to cover, but for now, I'm Attorney Andrew Bethel, and I'll see you at our next meeting.